So there's a reason why RJ Barrett is projected as one of the best players in this draft. He's a 6'7" athlete who's talented enough to where you think in a few years with some good seasoning, he could be a hell of an NBA player. So the first thing you notice is his ability to get to the basket. RJ is a really good ball handler for his size. He does still need to sharpen his handle a little bit, but it's pretty damn good right now. I mean, he's got hesitation moves and in and out dribbles, and he can cross you up, he can go between the legs, he's got some behind the back moves he can bust out. I also think he's got potential for Euro steps and hop steps and spin moves and things like that. Also, his height is certainly not going to hurt when it comes to finishing over guys. And that's the number one thing with RJ to me. And that's why I think he can be a source of offense for an NBA team, because he can be a threat to score in transition and pick and rolls, isolations, and it's just a matter of whatever NBA team he ends up on, just surrounding him with spacing. I mean, Duke had some of the worst spacing in college. Yeah, they were talented as hell, but between Zion, RJ, and Cam, who was a little disappointing, and just the fact that college basketball players can't hit jump shots, the guy didn't have the runways that he really needs to be successful. But with where the NBA is at today, you can hope that he'll have that shooting around him, and he could be the number one option. I mean, if he ends up on the Knicks and the Knicks get a bunch of star players this offseason, then this whole thing is up in the air. But it'll just be cool to see RJ with a team catered to him, because for as good as Duke was, you could say that that wasn't totally the case for his skill set. It would also be cool if his teammates can throw some passes, because I think RJ's got potential to be a pretty good off-ball scorer as well. He didn't fly around the floor off the ball at Duke, and in fact you could say sometimes he was a little too stuck in quicksand, so coaches would have to egg him on with this. But I think RJ could have some potential as a post scorer, a cutter, and I think he can be awesome in transition as well. So a lot of ways that RJ can put the ball in the basket. I don't think he's just going to be a give me the ball at the top of the key, spread the floor, and let me do my thing. So hopefully wherever he ends up, just the players around him don't suck. And that, of course, does matter with these high picks. Now we can get to his playmaking, which to me is going to be the determining factor, maybe even more so than his jump shot, although I will get to that, to see how good RJ really becomes. So his playmaking in college was okay. He got about 4 assists a game. But to me, he's got a lot of talent when it comes to passing the ball. Now, he's certainly not Ja Morant. I think he needs to improve on reading defenses and predicting help and all that, and sometimes he misses open teammates and things like that. But given that he's, 19 years old, and he can already thread the needle sometimes and pass guys open, which is an interesting term that I do think has some life to it, I would just hope that he can keep on building on these things. I mean, he doesn't panic when he's trapped, which I think is a pretty good sign. He had quite a lot of lobs to Zion. Not that I think he's going to have that in the NBA, although some potential Anthony Davis to the Knicks rumors would suggest otherwise. It would be pretty cool if he ended up on the same NBA team as Zion. But yeah, the passing potential's there with RJ, and if he can be a dude where the defense has to respect his driving, and he can then make plays for his teammates, that's the kind of guy that you can run your offense through. So hopefully he can impress in both of those areas, be a solid 6 to 8 assist a game guy, I guess. I do want to address his rebounding, which maybe is one of the underrated parts of his game. I think he could be a pretty awesome rebounder in the NBA. 1.5 offensive boards a night. In college, 6 defensive rebounds a game as well. This is of course great because he can create extra possessions for his team. Could even expect it to go up a little bit as he gets stronger. And then also with defensive rebounds, I mean, it allows him to get out on the fast break, and that's always cool as well. Now we got to get to the jump shot. I'm not actually going to talk about threes first. I'm going to mention his mid-range. RJ's mid-range is actually kind of awesome. There's one specific area of the floor where he sucks at, but when it comes to the majority of long 2-pointers and 15-footers and all that stuff, his percentages are actually excellent. They're in the mid to high 40s. So that tells me two things. One, the idea of him cleaning up his three-pointer may be a little better than we thought initially. Number two is pull-ups in the pick and roll. That's always a good thing if they're going to drop the big man on him, which is pretty popular in today's NBA. But anyway, we do have to get negative here. It can't be all the nice things. There'd be no point of scouting reports at that point. So the threes kind of suck. 31% on the year. He did take 6 a game, which might not be, well, it could be bad because he kept shooting them, but it could also not be bad because he shows confidence. I mean, I don't know. His free throws are not very good either. He just needs to get better at this. For what it's worth, I mean, again, the 6 attempts a game could be a good thing. Shows that he's practicing them and they just simply didn't drop for whatever reason. And I don't think his form is horrible, so if you want to be optimistic, I guess there is an avenue to see where RJ can be at least a decent three-point shooter, but it is something that he's going to have to work on. Some other things that RJ needs to get better at is basically decision making. There are times in college when he just threw some stupid passes. Granted, if you have Zion, maybe you get a little too reckless, but this was a thing for him even going into college. Sometimes RJ would just get a little too wild with his passes, and also, I feel like sometimes he drives without a real plan. This Michigan State game kind of showed all the good and bad parts of RJ. He also had this weird tendency in this game to sometimes just hoist up some sort of floater thing when his defender beat him to the spot. Part of me thinks he can stop doing these things once he gets a little stronger, because then he can draw more contact and get fouled or just push his defender out of the way. But as of right now, I am a little afraid that he could have some trouble just powering through NBA defenders. I guess that's something to keep an eye on. So now we're going to get to his defense. We're going to look at this Michigan State game again. It's a mixed bag. Some good, some bad. I like his energy on this play, as he lets the switch happen and then he goes to box out the big guy. Then here he does a nice job of fighting around the screen and contesting the jump shot. But then we have another play like that one, where this time around he kind of gets killed. Michigan State doesn't make him pay for it. I mean, maybe he could have got the closeout still in the corner, but a little bit dicey on that one. Here he does a pretty good job of hounding the ball handler, getting around the screen and recognizing to get to the shooter in the corner. Here he just gets lost in no man's land, where he's just he tries to do two things at once and he's able to do neither. This is some pretty weak post defense on the big dude. Zion's contest just kind of bailed him out. I like how he came over to help, even if it wasn't that effective. The fact that he did it anyway was a pretty good sign. And this one was pretty awesome, the way he's able to force the defender into the corner and kind of kill that possession. And another play for post defense, this time it was a bit better. So I think RJ's got potential defensively. He's just got to be more focused and get a little bit better on the mental stuff, but the physical side's definitely there. And that kind of sums up his whole game. RJ's got talent, he's got some things to fix, but there's a lot of positives with him.